What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? On today's show, we are talking about Jaylen Warren and how much he's over-delivered in his first 3 seasons in the NFL as an undrafted rookie free agent. He has done tremendous for the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Oklahoma State. And isn't been awesome to watch. It also comes into play of why perhaps the Steelers didn't pick up Najee Harris's 5th-year option, other than the fact that they can get better value negotiating a long-term extension with Najee, and also having these two dogs compete for one bone or two dogs compete for 2 bones, but they don't know there's 2 bones, could be very, very helpful if we're going to quote a Mike Tomlin analogy. But I was kind of curious, just how good has this been? I've started to do this with a few players. Just where do they compare in NFL history, and what does this mean for them moving forward? And just how special has it been, and should we take recognition of? So I did the same thing that I've started doing with a couple of other players, and I jumped into StatHead, which is a paid-for program within Pro Football Reference, and I found out some very, very interesting things. Now let's start off with rushing. If you go back to the start of the Super Bowl era in 1966, the player across their first 3 seasons with the most amount of yards is Ryan Grant with 3,400 yards, followed by Arian Foster, followed by Willie Parker of all people, Pittsburgh Steeler, third all time on this list since 1966 in terms of yards, after being an undrafted rookie free agent for the first 3 years. Philip Lindsay over at Denver, but he was mostly like the first 2 years, more two-year wonder, and that's what it shows, 2018 through 2020. I know that's for 3 seasons, but no, it counts. LeGarrette Blount is in there as well. Blount is in there. Matt Breeder's in there, someone that people are familiar with. And we can keep going down the list. Jaylen Warren is 28th on this list. Jaylen Warren, through 3 seasons, just behind, a couple of spots behind Austin Ekeler. Jaylen Warren, through 3 seasons, out of all the UDFAs going back to the start of the Super Bowl era, has had the best performance, 28, the best performance in terms of yards, the best performance with 1,163. That is incredible from an undrafted rookie free agent. That's how good Jaylen Warren has been for the Pittsburgh Steelers, particularly with poor quarterback play, where there's no threat. There's a load in the box. If you actually look at yards per attempt as well, he then gets into the top 16, right? Now, he's a little bit behind Gus Edwards in both statistical categories. Ravens run the rock a lot more. Also, the Ravens have had so many injuries with J.K. Dobbins over the years as well, where, Gus Edwards has been able to be featured back. He's not being Jaylen Warren having to compete with a mostly fit Najee Harris, right? Incredible. Look at TDs. Now, this is where, Jaylen Warren slumps right back overall. But the Steelers' offense has been poor. They haven't had that many. This is where he slumps back to 53. You look at yard average per game. I think he was in the top 30 for this, but I'll have to pull it up. He was, 37th. This is just receiving yards. We know what Jaylen Warren can do as a blocker. That's how he pretty much made his way on and kept his spot on the team in his rookie season, was the way that he blocked, very, very well, particularly on some of those shotgun plays. And we're going to talk about receiving. We will talk about receiving. I know that it's not just the running game where he is supportive, but to have this alongside a feature back and a first-round draft like Najee Harris out of Alabama, this is a terrific element for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is awesome for the Pittsburgh Steelers that this is what you've got. Just incredible here through 2022 and 2023. It's just awesome in terms of what he's doing through those first couple of seasons. But what about the receiving game as well? Because it's not just the running game here where he's, top 28 and top 16 and top 53. It's also the passing game. So I did the same thing. I ran exactly the same report. Now it's interesting. We're going to see some similar names here, which is going to talk about, because the thing that I couldn't do was pull up average yards from scrimmage or total yards from scrimmage. Fortunately, it doesn't correlate that all together going back to the start of the Super Bowl era. So this is how I've done it. So you look at the receiving, I've split it up. Look at the receiving part. Again, you got Arian Foster up there. You got Austin Ekeler up there in terms of receiving yards in their first couple of years in the league. Then you go down. Jaylen Warren there, 584, 23rd, right? 23rd best ever for an undrafted rookie running back. The 23rd best ever in terms of undrafted rookie quarterback, first to third season, That's a performance. Incredible from Jaylen Warren. It's awesome. And the Steelers are very lucky this is the case. 579 plus we'll go back to his other yardage here, which is 1138 rushing, I think, off the top of my head. It is 1163, right? So you put these two numbers together, you're getting 1,800 all-purpose yards in just 2022 and just 2023. Just incredible numbers for a bloke that's an undrafted free agent. Now, that is incredible numbers, obviously, because I'm doing it against the other undrafted free agents. But that's how much of a steal Jaylen Warren is. And if you're not a Najee Harris fan out there, you'll say this is probably one of the reasons why, he's up there. The other thing about Jaylen Warren, too, is it's not like he's had the most targets. He's only had 107 targets. But across 2 years, that's a lot. He's had 89 receptions. So he's actually got a really, really good completion percentage. I think his catch percentage is one of the highest in this list. I mean, you can talk about 100% if you're not getting that many. But he had a pretty high percentage, top 15 with 83.2%. Pretty incredible. And, when you look at yards per game as well, he doesn't do too bad. I think he was in the top 25. 18 there with 17.7. And this is from a poor passing offense. So he's making plays. And so when you look at Jaylen Warren and what he brings to this Steelers team, this all-rounder capability. I've heard stuff in the comments recently that says Jaylen Warren is not a 3-down back. Well, okay, I've also heard Austin Eckler say he's not a 3-down back. So, you could say that being fair. But what teams really do have these feature backs? You've got Derrick Henry out there. You've got Josh Jacobs out there. You've got Saquon, but he's often like it's a pass behind the line of scrimmage type of thing. It's not necessarily a traditional rush, all the time. There's a couple of other, really good running backs out there as well. But most teams are not going to find running success in the NFL with just one running back. But the type of running back that Najee Harris has, or is, I should say, you can find them starting to be cheaper. After Najee Harris, those type of guys are going to be a lot cheaper moving forward to pair with a Jaylen Warren. So this sort of thing could be where Jaylen Warren does really earn a great second contract for a running back's perspective. But for Steelers fans out there, we should just be appreciative of what he's done so far in the league because, as I said, top 28 best ever in terms of rushing yards. Best ever from an undrafted rookie free agent going back to the start of the Super Bowl era. Bobby Hammond's in there in 1976. Doug Kotar, 1974. Ronnie Coleman, 1974. What else we got? We got John Sell, 1987. All this is a lot of modern era sort of players as well. But, more difficult to run the football in the modern era. Dan Reeves was 1966. And then when you go then to the passing game, as I said, where he's number 23, this is some of the best that we've seen. And, Willie Parker wasn't there near him, even though Willie Parker was homeless. Yeah, but Willie Parker was 52nd on this list. So Willie Parker, it's actually a bit of a pedigree for the Steelers in terms of the undrafted free agent rookie running backs. But I loved when I saw this from Jaylen Warren. I was just curious as a fan to see out there and go how well has he done in his first 2 years in the league? Jaylen Warren, what an exceptional player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Has done a couple of kickoff receptions or return-ins as well. So, that's kind of interesting too from Jaylen Warren. But as I said, you let me know in the comments. What do you think about Jaylen Warren's career so far? What do you think about the impact he's going to have on the Steelers in 2024? And do you think it's him and not Najee Harris that earns a second contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers? I'm Matty P, as always. Go Steelers.